tell y'all something. This is their last demo of the day. I want to tell you, parents, I tell this like once a weekend. Uh, when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I had my parents took me up to the National Trade and they had there a half a dozen Yankees. Oh my God. Yankees, right? We had heard of the devil, but here were the Yankees. All right. That one moment though, I was hooked. So what I'm telling you, parents, is you never know when that moment is. You know, it might happen now, but it led to a career for me. I'm very blessed to be here. I'll tell you something else I'm very blessed to have. Is these gentlemen right here. How about a round of applause for these volunteers? Very, very kind of them. Anybody that'll come out and volunteer on a reenactment weekend day with the reenactment now, always very, very excited. All right, so we're going to be shooting here in just a second. I need not tell you what that is going to entail. So please stay on this side of the barricade, sturdy barricade. I don't really see anybody that small, but if you've got extremely small children, you may want to cover their ears. I don't find it that loud, but you got a hearing aid, something, maybe you got them cranked up, maybe you got them cranked down. I don't know. But please be aware, you know, if you have sensitive hearing, it'll can be. So other than that, though, ladies and gentlemen, happy 4th of July.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Spangler Springs area of the Colts Hill area of Gettysburg National Military Park. Now, what I will be doing today and what we will be demonstrating is the use of black powder rifle and rifle muskets and some muskets. But, you know, you look at this type of formation, and this is essentially a very small company. It's not even, you know, close to some of the small companies that were here, which you did have some that were, you know, barely 20 men. But you look at the formation, the men standing shoulder to shoulder, rank upon rank, and you look at this from a 21st century perspective, and this just does not look very bright. But you have to understand that at the time of the American Civil War, you're in a period of major transition in small arms, particularly military small arms. Prior to the American Civil War, most wars had been fought primarily with smoothbore muskets. It's essentially a long-barreled shotgun. The round will fly 1,000 yards, but you know your controllable aim is only out to about 100 yards. Now with rifles, you know, 300-400 yards are within reason. But in earlier wars, the American Revolution, Mexican War, whatever, the way you loaded a rifle, you actually had to wrap the ball in a patch, force it into the lands and grooves of the weapon before you could fire it. It took you about 3 times longer to load a rifle than a smoothbore musket. In the 1840s, some folks working on things in Europe started making modifications, and there was a French ordnance officer, Minet, often mispronounced Mini in this country, and he developed an elongated ball that was slightly smaller than the bore of the rifle. But if you've ever seen a mini ball, it's cupped out in the back. Sits on top of the powder charge in the rifle musket. When the powder charge blows, it blows those thin walls out into the rifling, imparts spin on the ball, and you now again have, you know, 300-400 yards of controllable range. But you can load and fire this as fast as you can load and fire a smoothbore musket. So you're not losing firepower because you're utilizing a rifle. Now, the first type of fire we're going to demonstrate to you is fire by company. We're going to fire the whole company at once. And this is the kind of fire can be done with a company, can be done with regiment, in some cases a whole brigade. And usually you engage in this type of fire in two conditions: really long range, 300-400 yards, or if you suddenly come upon the enemy or they come upon you, and you want to hit them with the maximum firepower and try to cause as much damage as you can immediately. So we will now demonstrate that type of fire.
Shoulder, arm. Prepare to fire. Company, ready. Aim. Fire.
Now the problem we have with this type of firing is that for the next 20 to 30 seconds, along whatever size line you've had fired,
That was loud.
you cannot
Imagine hearing a cannon.
fire downrange. You basically have a block
At the same time, it'll be loud.
But the manuals at the time trained you different ways in which to alternate fire. One of those ways was to fire by rank. You have a rear rank, you have a front rank. And by alternating the fire between those two ranks, you can keep about 50% of your firepower in reserve to deal with however the situation evolves.
Fire by rank. Rear rank. Aim. Fire. Front rank. Aim. Fire.
Now, you see how much noise we're making with just a handful of muskets. Imagine what the noise is like when there's hundreds or thousands going off at a time. Artillery fire and God knows what else.
Or again.
The primary way of giving orders is the good old Mark I human voice. It often gets lost in all of this. So if you were in a position where you were going to be engaged with the enemy and in position for a while doing it, the command that was most often given on pick your battlefield was to fire by file. You have the two ranks, front and rear, and then the two men that stand one behind another are a file. And at the command at a regimental level to commence firing fire by file, the right file in each of your companies will fire, and then it will continue to go down the line. Each file fires, and then the men continue to load and fire at will until told to cease fire. That way you can keep up a continuous rolling fire along your front, and you don't have to give any orders to make it happen.
Fire by file. Company, commence fire.
It's going around that camp over there. Yeah. I got you. We got 4 o'clock battle. Coming at you.
God.
Fire.
At the command cease firing, wherever the men are at in the loading procedure, they will complete loading their weapon, bring their weapon to the shoulder to indicate to their officers that their weapon is loaded, to be ready to receive the next order, whether it's a command for firing or a command for movement. Now, since the weapons are loaded again, we are going to again demonstrate the single fire of firing the whole company of
Get ready, guys.
again, used at longer ranges or if you suddenly have come upon the enemy.
Turn fire. Company. Ready. Aim. Fire.
The officer is given the command to prime. The men will prime their weapon with the firing mechanism, which is a
Imagine
special
hearing like
cap,
4 cannons at
a
once.
metallic cap full of fulminated mercury. This is something that is often overlooked in understanding the technology of the American Civil War. What's the primary method for ignition on a rifle or a musket prior to the American Civil War?
Black powder. Black powder. Black powder.
Flintlock ignition. Flintlock ignition is notoriously unreliable. And so the British Army, before they invested in switching over from flint to percussion, studied both, not only in Great Britain, but also in British India. And under various weather conditions, the average basically came out that for every 400 times, or pardon me, for every 1,000 times you try to fire a flintlock weapon, you're going to have almost 400 misfires. With percussion ignition for every 1,000 rounds fired, you're going to have just over 4 misfires. So in addition to the fact that these weapons have increased range, they are also far more reliable, and they're throwing a whole lot more lead down range. Now we've talked about the rifle method, we showed it being fired. What's the infantryman's other primary
Look,
weapon?
now they're putting on the bayonets.
Bayonet. Everybody's, if you've done some reading in background, you read about bayonet fighting, bayonet charges, bayonet assault. However, there are relatively few bayonet or even any edged wounds that occur. You can look at the medical logs from the Army of the Potomac, because the bayonet is in fact primarily a weapon of psychological shock more than physical shock. If you're on the receiving end of a bayonet assault, you're firing into them, they're taking casualties, they close ranks, they keep coming, some little alarm bell starts going off in the back of your head that this is not a good place to be. Now, if you have a real physical obstruction like the Union troops did here in the breastwork on Colts Hill, yeah, you'll probably stand and fight more. But even if you have some of the low stone walls you see on other parts of this battlefield, even though it's not a real physical barrier, it's enough of a psychological barrier that you're more likely to stand and fight. So that you get a little bit better idea of how this works over a much, much smaller area, you're now going to see essentially how a bayonet assault works in a compressed format.
Shoulder. Arm. Forward. March. Double quick step. March. Charge. Bayonet. Boom! Halt.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our firing demonstration. We will be going back into our camp area. If you have any questions about weapons, tactics, the common life of the Civil War soldier, and I will also be staying here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Thank you again for your time and attention, and enjoy the rest of your day here at Gettysburg.
Arm.
Thank you.
Shoulder. Arm. About. Face.
Their arms